Good morning. Today we are feeding the homeless, the refugees, the pensioners in the city. And so today we're going to be giving them a fresh green salad. As usual, Dima brought in the canisters for Mark, and he's out feeding the animals. Mark boiled up some pig's feet and some other pork bones yesterday and took the meat off of it this morning. And he's getting ready to cook all the macaroni, a big pot worth, that we'll put into the cup and put soup on it. Because we've had so many people coming and we're feeding so much, the 3 canisters that we have of soup are not enough. So Mark decided to do the rice or the pasta separately, so it kind of increases our fold, and we just put that in a big pot. So Ura is doing what he usually does on Tuesday. He's cutting up the parsley and the dill, and then he'll cut up this big piece of meat here. About 8 kilograms. How much is 8 kilograms in pounds?
8 kilograms?
Yeah.
It's probably like 5 pounds.
5 pounds of pork, along with all the fatty and all that came off of the pig's feet. They really like a lot of that in the soup here. So that'll go into the soup. And I've already cooked up the tea. And now I'm getting ready to do the salad. The cabbage came from our garden. The cucumbers came from our garden. We had to buy the tomatoes because our tomatoes are still green. They're not quite ready yet, but probably I would say within a week we're going to be booming in cucumbers just like we are now. The cucumbers are just starting. So I'm going to be conserving pickles and marinated tomatoes and those kind of things as time goes on. But I figured maybe you just want to watch us for a while as we prepare. As long as my camera on my phone works, it keeps wanting to turn off. I'm not sure why. So you can kind of see Ura there, and I'm going to work on the cabbage. So one of the ways that they do salad is we cut up cabbage and we kind of shred it, and then once I have it all shredded, I'm going to scrunch it, which makes it soft and bring out some of its juices. And then after that, I'll be using a mandolin to cut a lot of those cucumbers, and then I'll cut up the tomatoes. The tomatoes will be just a little bit of red in it. Of course, the dill, which I put in here, will be just a little bit of green, and then we'll put some salt and then some oil and some vinegar and mix it all up. We've got 2 people coming to help us feed today, so that's another reason we decided to do the salad. So generally, I do the pasta or rice, Mark does the soup, Ura does the bread and the spoon, and Dima does the tea. Pray for Dima today. He's not feeling very well. He's just feeling yucky all over, which is how I felt for about 3 days before the influenza hit me. So I'm praying, that he didn't get it, or if he does have it, that it's not as bad as mine, probably because I have allergies and asthma. Mine was a bit worse. So anyway, after cutting out the stem, I took off a couple of leaves, and our cabbage this year is really good. Sometimes we have to spray for these little white moths and how they burrow in.
I went the wrong way on the calculation.
Oh, yeah?
8.3 kilograms is 18 pounds.
18 pounds of pork. Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah. 18 pounds of one pig butt cheek.
A butt cheek, yeah. Not our pig, we had to buy it. Yeah. All of our pigs are breeding right now, so we don't have any for the meat. So basically for the cucumbers and tomatoes, I'll wash them and then work through it. With the cabbage, we just take off the outer leaves. There's not really a need to wash it because they're clean inside. So of course all the leaves and the stems, all the stems from the parsley and everything that he's doing, all of that will go to the animals, so we really don't waste anything. I remember the first time I did this, I was super slow, but now after so many years, and getting a good process going. It's pretty quick. And actually, one of the things that helped me improve cutting like this was Mark watching MasterChef and some of the things that they taught. And when they said that when you cut, you use your knuckles as your measurement, and the top of your knife that's not sharp, you keep against your knuckles so you don't cut yourself, but you're able to slice very thinly. So it works. So some exciting news. Our refrigerator, new refrigerator got delivered yesterday. It was kind of a little bit of a chore to get it off the truck. There was a young man who was the delivery driver, and I don't think he's really moved furniture, and he was trying to give instructions, because he's the delivery guy. And finally, we kind of got them to listen to Mark, and Mark kind of had to jump in.
I have 9 years experience of moving heavy stuff, office furniture and file cabinets, and I know how to move a few things.
So basically what we got him to do is to lay it down, slide it halfway off the truck, and then lever it, and it stood up. And they were going to use skids and stuff like that, but it ended up working really quickly and very easily, because by using that fulcrum point, it makes it very light, just like on a dolly. You can pick up more. And so then Mark put down some boards, and they slid it across really easily, because that refrigerator is close to 200 kilograms, which is,
I don't know,
a whole bunch of pounds.
500 pounds.
Maybe 500 pounds, yeah. So we got it onto the patio. It's going to have to stay there for a day because it was laying on its back, and that affects the lubricants and the Freon and all that kind of stuff. But also Mark has to take the feet and the braces for the feet off, so it's short enough to go through our door, and it's barely going to fit through the two doors and into the kitchen. So maybe later on this evening or tomorrow, that's what we'll be doing. And it'll be nice to have a fridge again. Oh, is it going to be nice?
Yeah.
Some things just didn't store very well in our cellar, but we always have to run down to the cellar to get anything before we cook, before we eat. That's a lot of extra work. May not seem like a lot, but when we're taking care of almost 12 acres of gardens, and all the animals and everything else, all the rehab program that's going on and the teaching, that's a lot of extra work for us. I went with Pastor Sergey yesterday, who is now managing our gardens and our animal, and I'm kind of letting go of those responsibilities and giving them to him because he's an agricultural specialist and animal husbandry. So yesterday he and I went and looked at our fields that had barley to see if they were ready, and they're ready for harvest. So he's going to organize a guy, Pasha, in our village who has a specific combine that harvests the barley and wheat, and hopefully later on this week we'll get that harvested, and that'll be good for us because we've only got like 2 bags of feed, grains left for the animals, and we need some more feed, so this is going to be right at the right time. Then we'll let the fields rest for a month or so, then we'll prepare them and we'll plant wheat, which gives a bigger yield than barley, which you have to plant it in the fall. So, and we started harvesting our garlic last night. It was really hot yesterday, so we worked only in the morning, And then we didn't go to work until like 5 o'clock in the evening, stopped, ate dinner at 6, and then worked out in the garden until the refrigerator got delivered about 8 o'clock. But it'll take us a couple days to get all the garlic harvested and on the drying racks, and then we'll start on the onions because they're starting to fall over, which means they're ready for harvest as well.
So today I'm cooking rice, not rice, pasta, and I have to cook 12 kilograms of pasta. What is that, like 24 pounds of pasta? And you know, you don't do it just one little saucepan at a time. I got our biggest pan, and that's what holds the water. Then I got a pan that fits really well inside that pan, and I drilled a bunch of holes in it. It's kind of like a colander, because they don't have big colanders here. At least I haven't found any yet. Anyway, so I made this colander. It sits down in the water. I put the pasta in the colander, cook it. I cook 6 pounds of pasta at a time. So there'll be 4 times I have to cycle through using this hot water, and because I cook it that way, it ends up returning to a boil fairly quickly. But to get it started, it takes like an hour to get that much water boiling. And that's what I'm waiting on right now. Pretty soon I'll be doing, cooking the rice. I'm all set up for it. Cooking the pasta. I'll cook the pasta, and then what I do is I throw it into the sink that is holding cold water. So I get it cooked al dente, I cool it off, and then it'll be good for hours without getting all mushy. And we feed it to them cold, but the soup will be hot, and they can take some home if they want and reheat it. You know, we don't care. Actually, we do care. I'm cooking all of it so that they take all of it. I don't want to bring any of it home, because I can cook more later.
Yeah, so, you know, some of the refugees, they don't have jobs yet. You know, they're still trying to find a place to live. The pensioners, because things have gotten so expensive because of the war, the pensioners have to decide between, you know, medication and food. So some of them will bring some, you know, mayonnaise buckets or those kind of things, and then we'll fill them up and they take them home and they get to eat for a couple days, because we only feed once a week. But there's another organization, Flame of Hope, that feeds on Friday. And then some lady we saw was feeding last week. And so hopefully she'll be choosing a different day than us, and we'll be able to feed these people more through all these different groups, which is really cool.
So Scripture says you have not because you ask not. And I think that Scripture is very accurate, but what happens when you ask and there's no real need? Okay, so there's a need, but if we're not providing for that need, then why does God have to give us more? Well, we're providing for the need. I want to cook more so that more goes away, and that way God can give us more. Make sense?
Kind of that empty cup. How can you get your cup filled more if you don't empty it out?
Yeah.
You know?
I want more from God, but I have to do more with what He gives me before He gives me more.
Mhm.
Make sense? Maybe.
Well, it kind of goes against common sense of the world, but a lot of things of God go against common sense of the world.
Yeah.
In our morning reading this morning, we were reading from John 6, and we had just read about the miracle where Jesus fed the 5,000 with the 5 barley loaves and the 2 fish, and then how the disciples left and were on the ship, and the storm came, and He walked on the water. And He said, "Don't be afraid." And then all of a sudden they were on the other shore. And the next morning, people got up and said, "You know, where's Jesus? Where's all the disciples?" And so they ended up going across the Sea of Galilee to find Jesus, and were asking Him, and they were following Him because He had fed them, you know. And so He said, "You're just following me for that food, but I have the bread of life." And so He tries to take them from looking at these physical things in life that they need to looking at the spiritual things. And so we talked about with the guys about what they think about success is, you know, getting an apartment, getting a good job, a good salary, those kind of things, but those are all physical. And we need, yes, we need them, but we need to focus spiritually. And God will bring those things into our life when we need them and how we need them. And sometimes it's not exactly like we would want, you know, but that's what He wants to give us. And how to wait and be patient for that.
Okay. Yura wants to speak to Americans. Yura, говори.
Что ты хочешь сказать?
Американец.
Привет.
Hello. You got nervous all of a sudden. He's kind of a simple guy. He's got a real good sense of humor. Kind of goofy, you know. And we've been talking to him a lot about the process to accept Christ, and he's interested in that, but he's still not made that final, you know, step. So you can pray for him on that. Of course, our other guy, like I said, is not feeling very well. He's feeling sick, but I did a post about waffling, and he's been here, well, August 9th will be 1 year. And so he's kind of going through this period that all the men do, where he starts to get tired of being here. He wants to move on to his life. He thinks because he's been here, you know, for a year and he hasn't drank and he hasn't smoked, that things are great. And he's looking at those physical things, but he's not understanding that here is a very protected environment. We are protecting him. We're keeping him from a lot of temptations. But once he leaves, all those temptations are going to be hitting him. So we like to progress them through steps as they release, and to make sure that they're ready for these temptations and that they can say no. So again, just keep praying for him as he goes through this situation. Pray for him because he's not feeling well today. And I think that's it. That's enough for today. I'm glad that you joined us as we went through some of this, and keep us in prayer as we chop and do all this stuff, and that we are able to share God's love with the people who come to us. We're able to joke with them and laugh with them and talk to them and even cry with them sometimes. And some of the ladies have been really sweet because we've got a lot of flowers blooming now. They bring me flowers. I've still got a rose right over there that one little lady. She's really short. Not quite like a little person, but she's just very, very small. And I don't know, she's probably 70s or 80s. And she always comes and says hello to me, and she's been giving me these flowers lately. So, sweet gesture. Anyway, we got to get back to work. Bye, guys.